Welcome to Ready, Set, Sold with your host, Bryan Vogt. Are you wanting or even thinking about selling your house but don't know where to start? Good thing you found Ready, Set, Sold. And now, real estate broker, Bryan Vogt.
Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to Ready, Set, Sold. I'm your host, Bryan Vogt. I hope you had a tremendous holiday season and made some fantastic resolutions for the new year. I know I did make some changes as far as what I was going to be doing this year. Some of the changes we talked about, I think, last week, but it's going to be with the show. We're getting some sponsorships. We have some limited sponsorships still available, not too many, for people wanting to get a part of really giving value. And that's kind of what this show is all about, is giving value to people to get their houses sold for top dollar in a fast sale, because we talk about real estate and all things involving real estate. One of the reasons why I wrote the book, Ready, Set, Sold, 12 Proven Steps to Get Your House Sold for Top Dollar in a Fast Sale in St. Louis Metro East, was simply that, is I've been doing this now for close to 2 decades in real estate, and there's so many things that we've seen, that I've seen and others have seen, that have just cost people so much money and so much pain and aggravation, and having their house sit on the market for 3, 4, my goodness, maybe 6 or 7 months or longer. And it just traditionally doesn't have to be that way. It just doesn't. And that's one of the reasons why I wrote the book, to get the information out to sellers that are looking to get top dollar in a fast sale. Look, selling your biggest asset is a big deal. It really is. And for most people, their house is their biggest asset they'll ever sell. So you want to make sure you have the information that has been proven to work for, well, again, close to 2 decades. So that's why that's why I wrote the book, to get that information out. And on the radio program, we give it away for absolutely free. No strings, no nothing, no trade and bait, so to speak. Meaning is, we're not going to trade you some information with the book and then try to bait you into doing something you don't want to do. That's not what we're about. We really just want to get the information out to you so you can use it, so you can have success that many countless sellers that we work with have had. So to get the book, you just go to readysetsold.org, net.com, readysetsold.org, net.com, and pick up the book. There's some information you need to put into your address so we can mail it out, because this is a physical book. So you're actually going to get a physical book, and many people have taken advantage of that already, and we're always looking for more people to, again, take advantage of this free offer, and it's absolutely free. With that said, it's a little cold outside, and one of the things we're going to be talking about is the theme of this show is going to be about selling in the winter months. And there's some things that you need to know, and there's some success stories that we're going to be talking about, and we're also going to have the tip of the week. So that's important. Winter months, there's a lot of myths that go around it, and we're going to try to debunk most of those myths. A couple of them that come to mind is the house won't sell because it is in the winter. That actually tends not to be true at all. Secondly, they're worried about pricing. They won't get the pricing that they would get if they waited till spring. Again, that doesn't tend to be true. There's always exceptions to every rule, but traditionally that doesn't play out. So we'll be talking about that in the show also. But before we get into that, I want to really focus on podcasts, because every show that we do is put into a podcast. And if you go to iTunes or if you go to Google Play, you can get it for free, and you can listen to this show if you missed the first segment or missed any part of it. Or you can look at any shows in the past, and we've had insurance experts on, we've had lending experts on, we've had a whole variety of different people that you can go back to and pick out the show, listen to the whole show, or we've segmented it out and we've labeled it. So it's very easy and very convenient that you can go in and find exactly the information that you want. And we're really proud of that, because we're finding more and more people, that's how they're getting their information. So it's not only you have the radio program that you can listen to on a weekly basis, but if you can't make it, that's okay. You've got the podcast, and of course we're on YouTube. You can go there too. And just so you know, all you have to do is look for Ready, Set, Sold. If you put that in, we will pop up. So we're easy to get to. It's just another way of getting information out to people that can help them get the top dollar and a fast sale for their house. And that's, in most cases, that's what I think sellers not only expect, but they deserve. So with that said, let's kind of go into, before I forget, Facebook. We're also on Facebook. Please like us on Facebook. Go to Ready, Set, Sold with Bryan Vogt. And like I said, try to get the information out there. And the radio program, or at least parts of the radio program, will be there too. We're also on LinkedIn. So we're kind of everywhere. We're trying to hit everything and everywhere that people look for information. We actually blog it. So there's just different ways that you can find this information, because I really feel it's important that people, once they have the information, they can make a decision for themselves. With that said, let's talk about the first topic, and that is, if you're selling your house, want to make sure that the agent that you're interviewing or that you're going to use has sold houses in the wintertime. Meaning is they've had the experience of being able to, not only in the wintertime, but ideally the springtime, summertime, fall. There is a little bit of difference between selling in the winter than there is maybe in the springtime and the summertime and other parts of the year. They're all just a little bit different, but those little bit of differences can make a big difference when it comes to sale of your home. And one of the things that we hear far, far, far too often is that agents, for example, just a story that comes to mind, an agent took a listing first week of January, kind of where we're at right now. This was last year. And they took the listing, but they didn't tell the sellers this, but they didn't plan on this thing selling until at least March or April. Now, that's okay if that's your plan, but the sellers didn't know that. And so they were just taking the listing on, but they were basically in their own head. The agent was thinking, well, this won't be until spring or even summer, but I've got the listing. Well, it didn't work out very well. Again, they didn't seem to, and this is naturally after everything was over, it wound up taking over 7 months to sell the house. And the sellers then found out, as they talked more and more to the agent, that was kind of that agent's game plan to begin with. That it really wasn't going to sell here in January or February, but it was going to wait till later on. The problem that comes into is if that's, number one, the direction your agent's taking, you have to question how hard are they going to be pushing your house. That's number one. I mean, if they're waiting for 3 months, one would think they're not going to be putting as much effort, and many times they don't, because they're waiting for the season, quote unquote, to pick up. That's number one. The other part, though, that you have to be considerate about with is that if you take that strategy, if you are a seller and you think that's a strategy you want to use, that's okay, except that when the spring market hits, you've got 90 days. You've been on the market for 3 months. And so when these other houses start popping up, perception is reality when it comes to real estate. And buyers, quite frankly, are going to be questioning why your house is on the market for 90 days. If not, the agents will be questioning why the house is on there. Even if the price may be the correct one, the 90 days now is going to be hurting you. And this is what happened in this situation. And so what happened was even though they were priced for location and everything else, days on market beat them up. Doesn't happen every time, but it's not unusual for these type of situations to happen. So eventually they did sell it in the 7th month. So now not only do you have the cost of maintaining the home, you got principal and interest, you have an HOA in this situation, there was one, insurance, utilities, just general maintenance. You know, Murphy's Law, if something goes wrong, it'll go wrong at the worst possible time. And many times it seems to happen that way. Whether it does or not, it just seems to happen that way. In that situation, not only did they take the hit as far as the price, which they eventually had to sell it because now it's even been on the market even longer, and they got less for their home than they ever thought possible. But then you combine all the months that they were making those payments that we just talked about. But really, more importantly, it's just the pain that they went through. And that's what they really talked about the most, the pain of the unknown, the uncertainty. They were in a situation like most people that if the house doesn't sell, they can't move on to their next adventure or what they were trying to do, whatever that is. It's the next house. In this situation, they were moving down to Texas. They were retiring, seeing the grandkids, and unfortunately, they did get to see the grandchildren, but basically their experience was horrendous. So you want to make sure that you don't have that situation when you're talking with the agent. So just asking simple questions. Have you sold? Number one, have you sold in the winter months? Do you have a track record of that? Number two, is your intent to sell it in the winter months? That's very important, that you're both on the same game plan. With that said, we're going to be talking next, in the next segment, talking about tips that you can do when you're selling your home during the winter season if there's inclement weather. I'm your host, Bryan Vogt. We will see you in a few.